Hi, my name's Chris. I live in Australia and we've just gone through our election for the year. For my Australians out there, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about having Labor? It was a landslide for the Labor Party for the next couple of years. Over the last 3 years, how did you feel under the Labor government? Because nothing's going to change. We've got them again this time around. So yeah, if the last few years were hard, next few years are probably going to be hard as well. For myself, it wasn't the best outcome, okay, but it wasn't the worst outcome. So the worst outcome, I'll run through how I voted, guys. So the worst outcome was I did not want a Greens majority. I think that's the absolute worst thing for the future of this country. A Greens majority was the worst outcome. A Labor-Greens coalition, that's the second worst outcome. So I voted across for neither of them outcomes. Top of my voting preferences were essentially the freedom parties, People First, One Nation, Libertarians, and then all the way down the bottom I put Liberal, because Liberal is my catch on the preferential voting system. So if all the freedom parties that I went through didn't secure a spot, I was hoping Liberal would catch it at the bottom. And you know what, in Queensland, where I'm from, my lovely state, Liberal so far on the count has absolutely smashed Labor. Liberal won, the only state, Queensland, where Liberal won. But, you know, kind of wanted to see a minor party through. My best outcome was minor parties and we break the two-party system. But not the case, unfortunately. But overall, you know, it's not the worst outcome. I didn't want the Greens to win a majority or a Labor-Greens coalition. Just thought it was the absolute worst for this country. Adam Bant, I think he's treacherous. A leader, wants to be a leader of this country, won't even stand in front of the Australian flag. You know, at different times in history, if you're a leader and you were pulling that crap, different times in history, not now, but you'd be hung, drawn and quartered. Okay, it'd be the end of you. But no, these days that's, you know, fine to do. Everyone has their right to do what the fuck they want these days. But overall, how'd the country vote? Well, so far on the vote, it's not done and dusted. Still being counted through, and preferentials will keep cycling through. Here's a Labor landslide though on preferential voting. So far, 1 in 3. 1 in 3 people voted for Labor. 1 in 5 people voted for Liberal. 1 in 8 people voted for Greens. And 1 in 3 people voted for other parties, minor parties and independents. So overall, 2/3 of Australia did not vote for Labor. 2/3 did not preference Labor. So 2/3, I'm assuming, aren't super stoked right now. I'm in that middle ground. I'm like, my worst case scenario didn't occur, but my best case scenario didn't occur as well. So what I'm really worried about right now is the Senate vote. Okay, not the House of Representatives, but the Senate vote. Because the Senate, you need people in the Senate, they're going to critique the government. They're going to call out their bullshit. People like Jared Rennick, people like Malcolm Roberts. You need guys like them in there who are going to run through and say, what is this crap? What is this bullshit? But with a Labor landslide, and looking at the amount of Senate counts towards Labor and Liberal, but on a Labor landslide for this, if the Senate gets filled up with Labor senators, well, they've got no reason to critique the last 3 years of government because that's their party. They're not going to critique their own party, and they're not going to critique the current government in because that's their party. They'd be critiquing themselves. They've got to sit there and toe the party line and then pretty much just berate and belittle everyone that tries to critique the government. So if we have a heap of Labor senators in there, well, you're not going to have people in there to keep the bastards honest, are you? Unfortunately, it's looking like senators like Jared Rennick may not get in to ask the hard questions. Malcolm Roberts from One Nation, it looks like he's sitting right on the line so far on the counts. He may not get in to ask the questions, keep the bastards honest. No one's asking questions, keep the bastards honest from the Senate. Well, you know, the government's going to get away with murder for the next couple of years. So just remember, Labor's budget is going to put us another $250 billion in debt over the next couple of years. It's going to absolutely blow out. Another $250 billion being added on to support Labor's policies that are occurring. Absolutely reckless spending. When we start to look down the lines of, say, first home ownership at 5%, at 5% that you need to pay as a deposit, and the government's going to cover the other 15%. That one, that Labor is saying such a great thing. Well, here's the truth, guys. If you can't afford a house with a 20% deposit right now, you can't afford a house with a 5% deposit and the government covering 15%. Still on the numbers, the median income of a couple, $67,000 for person one, $67,000 for person two. Both of them combined, both earning $67,000 each. It cannot afford 90% of houses in this country because you're limited by borrowing capacity from the banks. Okay? They can't get enough on a loan for a bank. They need like a 25, 30% deposit at this point to get into home ownership. So the government's saying, oh, 5%, well, you know, it's going to help. It's going to add fuel to the fire, yeah, because there'll be people on much higher incomes going for these programs. And still, the median, the person in the middle, is going to be missing out here. And finally, yeah, we're back to big Australia. Labor's going to be letting through hundreds of thousands of immigrants per year. Hundreds of thousands per year. Okay, big Australia policy, it's on. Let them in by the hundreds of thousands. You think it was getting full now? No, we're nowhere near packed. Labor's plan's just going to let people through, man. You're struggling to find rental? Well, you know, suck shit. Labor's in. You're struggling to buy a house? Suck shit. Labor's in. It's just unsustainable immigration. We know this. I've done videos on this, guys. It's unsustainable immigration, and it's going to get worse. Okay, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But if we keep seeing successive Labor governments, well, you know, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Now, I know a lot of you are angry and disheartened right now. You know, it's not what 2/3 of us voted for. It's not what 2/3 of us wanted. But here we are. It's happened. But I think the important thing for us to remember is not to give up. Because when we give up, that's when we lose this country. And I think losing this country is the hardest thing of all. So what are you guys' thoughts? How do you think we're going to go over the next couple of years? What do you think of the election? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. The comments section's yours. And I'm going to cycle back to you guys. I just want to wait until it's all done and dusted on the vote counts. I want to see how the Senate panned out. I want to see how everything panned out after all the preferential votes go all the way through. So I'm going to wait for the dust to settle. I'm going to wait for the fallout pretty much. And then I'll come back to you guys and we can unpack it a little bit further. Until next time, you guys take it easy and, you know, keep battling on. Hang in there.